Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the third round of this CCRL Elite Tier season, and it's taking place at the Silverstone circuit in Great Britain. Well, this is being filmed on July 3rd, but tomorrow, when this is eventually uploaded, I'd like to wish you and anyone who is celebrating here a very happy 4th of July, as we're on British soil. Anyways, very interesting one, and a very long one we have for you tonight as well. We've got, not only is this obviously a 20-some-odd lap, I think 29-lap Grand Prix we've got coming up for you. We've also got sprint qualifying and a sprint race to be held as well. This is the game's, the new format that they've brought in this season, in line with what they do in real life. Not only do we have the sprint race session, we do also have the sprint qualifying session. It's about half the time as a normal qualifying session, only about 8 minutes long, and then we'll get into the Grand Prix qualifying session, and then the Grand Prix to follow after that. Should be a fantastic night of racing here at one of the greatest racing circuits in the world. Again, you think of Silverstone, you think of the incredible moments that this track has produced time and time again that we visit the circuit, and should be absolutely fantastic. Well, as it turns out, Sprint Quali 1, 12 minutes is the official time they've given us. That's quite long, but still decently enough, and I think, even with that, we're going to get ourselves a solid night of racing here. 19 drivers on the grid for this track that, in the build-up to F1 24 releasing, there was a lot of, alleged reworking of the circuit to get it to feel like it was more real life, get the, some bumps in the right places, I guess, was a big selling point. Yeah, I don't know either, but what I can tell you is this: along with most of the other tracks in this game, this track has gotten harder, it's gotten quicker, and it's gotten a lot more slipperier as we get on track here with Sepulveda in the Sauber is going to be our first one out. This track has gotten very quick and very difficult. And so coming up here should be an interesting qualifying session. What we will have is, again, 2 qualifying sessions, which will, kind of give our drivers plenty of time to get out there and practice as much as they can. We got the sprint race, 9 laps of that. That should be a fun one nonetheless. Sepulveda will be our first driver out on track. As you can see, the rest of the grid starting to come out on track in the droves here. Very short session, this, obviously. You're only really going to get 2 runs in at the very most. There's not going to be 3-4 runs here. It's going to be very much get to the point, right at it, and then immediately get yourself a qualifying run together and get yourself in a good starting position for this sprint. Sepulveda, again, first driver out on track. This track here, I've said it before, I'll say it again, some of the best racing in the world provided by the Silverstone circuit. I mean, what a beautiful complex this is, and every time any racing series visits it, it's absolutely a race to look out for. And much of the same here, as we've got our CCRL Elite Tier on track. Next time out, unfortunately, I won't be here, but the league will be going to Qatar, the Los Sales circuits, for round number 4. That'll be on July the 10th, and then after that we head to the Jeddah Corniche circuits in Saudi Arabia. But we have Sepulveda making his way through Club Corner now, and about to head down the Sir Lewis Hamilton Straight to start off his first time lap of the session. Abbey Corner, first corner here. Used to be a bit of a downshift and letting off the throttle. No, completely flat now through that section of the track with the right setup. Through Farm into Village Corner now. This braking zone into the loop got difficult because the back of the car really just wants to get away from you as you get into the heavy braking. Back on the throttle as fast as you can through Aintree there, down the Wellington Straight, and heading in towards Brooklands, Luffield, and Woodcote. 3 of the nicest corners, really. Always some good racing through this. Multiple racing lines to be able to be taken through Brooklands. Here's Luffield, and then Woodcote on exit. Fantastic complex of the corner that. Down the National Pit Straight now, heading into the famed Cops Corner. This corner, you can almost take flat. Not quite. Still got to downshift, still got to let off. Some drivers are going to be a little bit more gutsy with that than others, that's for sure. In through Maggots and Beckett's, and eventually Chapel after that. These corners got quick. Used to be a downshift there. No, you're taking that quite flat now through 6th gear. Exiting Chapel, heading down the Hangar Straight you go. So much speed heading up the hill in towards the right-hander of Stowe. This will be a fun one in the race for sure, and track limits on the outside always in play for delivering some track penalties. Down the hill in towards Vale. Fun little left-handed corner here. Sometimes if you see a driver get desperate, they'll make a dive bomb move there. Through Club Corner now onto the Hamilton Straight, and there's your lap, a 1:28.332. That looked Well, flawless isn't the right word, but to be honest with you, I didn't see very many flaws with that from Sepulveda. He's done very well. Barney has gone second, 128.865. Not bad either. Next up behind him, the Mercedes of Reimer. Very interested here. He's on the medium tires as well. That ought to be something to look out for as he's heading through Abbey Corner and Farm Curve after that. John the Prince, 128.138, has done about, 2/10 of a second back to Sepulveda. The Williams of Soxy has yet to come out on track. That's a driver I'm definitely going to be looking out for here. Very, very quick in his own right. Reimer now going down the Wellington Straight. Clear track ahead of him aside from the Sauber of Sepulveda. As it looks as if we got a couple of drivers coming around now. Both the V-Carbs have gone 6th and 7th. Osmanian Devil's gone 8th. And Bonget's gone 9th. Reimer takes about as much room on the outside of the track as he can. Cato in the Williams, 128.04. Gets about 1/10 of a second past John the Prince. Bit of a lift there for Reimer. I think had he been on the soft tires, he could have taken that one a little bit more gutsy. He's gone maybe half throttle or less through there. Oh, big slide then going through Beckett's that time. That was very close to having the car go around. He's actually held it very, very well. But I'm afraid this is not going to... This is probably not going to be the time lap to look out for here, and only still 6.5 minutes left in the session, so Reimer's going to abandon this time attempt completely, as we are, already counting down the time here. As next up around the line, we've got one of the V-Carbs here, I think. Well, actually, both of them, technically. Jabor is going to be coming around. That's not Jabor. Who am I looking for here? What car is that? I've looked at both of them. Oh, that's the other Red Bull. That's Owa. There's too many blue colors, man. Curveball, slower through Sector 2. That's not going to be a fast lap from him. Komakopa, slow for him. Bonget into the pit lane here. He's invalidated somewhere along the line. Owa starting one now. And R. Manson making his way down the National Pit Straight, as you can see. Going in towards Copse Corner. On the medium tires, and that car looks absolutely hooked up there through that section of the track. Maggots and Beckett's, though, that's where you'll be able to tell the true integrity of this car and the true, good setup that they've put on. DRS activated. Down the Hangar Straight now. A little bit of traffic ahead of him as cars start to queue into the pit lane. But going through Stowe now. Takes that corner slightly wider, hoping for more speed on the exit, which it looks as if he's done. In towards Vale. Car nearly off track ahead of him. I think that was the other Red Bull. Coming through Club Corner now and across the line eventually for R. Manson. Will go 6th. 128.843. As you notice, a lot of these cars are using now the medium tires. That's because, again, these guys are on limited amounts of tires for this whole Grand Prix day. Sprint quali now, the sprint race, then actual quali, then the full Grand Prix. That's going to limit some of the tire strategies that we do see, limit a lot of the decisions that these drivers are going to be able to make. That's why you've seen drivers like Reimer, like Owa. Reimer had it on his first attempt. R. Manson, as you've just seen, all choosing the medium tires. Everybody else has chosen the soft tires. But again, the big point's not up for grabs here, but either way, still a very important session nonetheless. John the Prince making his way through Copse Corner now. I mean, I tell you what, car looks so smooth going through Maggots and Beckett's. Always taken the exit of Beckett's a little bit wide there. May have lost some time going in through Chapel and down the Hangar Straight now. Osmanian Devil, 127.855. Gets Cato by nearly 2/10 of a second. That's not a bad lap at all. John the Prince, I fear, may have lost some time coming out of Maggots and Beckett's. We'll have to wait and see once he comes across Club Corner and across the line now. And 127.824. It does improve by 3/10 of a second there. Gets Osmanian Devil by 3/100ths. I tell you what, that's a little closer. I think if John the Prince nailed Maggots and Beckett's there, we could have been looking at a 5/10 of a second improvement, really. Like, it was a noticeable bit of an error, but either way, great attempt from him so far. DWCJ, I believe, is going to be starting one here, or either that or he's on his way in, and on his way in will be the answer. Patty Cake, fantastic username there. Not on a timed lap at the moment. Currently 7th, though. Good result for the Alpine driver there. We got the pair of the Haas cars, 9th and 10th, Barney and Scheisty, both on outlaps here. No, by the way, that is less than 3/100ths of a second between the two. Tell you what, though, that midfield looking quite competitive at the moment, from Manson down to curveball in 13th. 8th to 13th, that is less than 0.3 seconds difference there. That is massive. Not to mention the battle at the top of the table within 3/100ths. As Osmanian Devil making his way on track now. I think, is this going to be an in-lap for the Aston Martin here? That's kind of what I'm thinking. He's got 2:45 remaining, and if this is an in-lap, which I doubt it is, as Soxy 1:26.765. And remember how I was saying you got to look out for him? Well, there you go. I hate to say he's blown the field out of the water here, but that's exactly what he's done. 2.5 minutes remaining. Osmanian Devil, I think, is going to be starting a new one here. We've just over 2 minutes to go here. 2:15-ish to be exact. Although ish and exact shouldn't be used in the same sentence, but I digress. Osmanian Devil starting one here. Down the pit straight he goes. In through Abbey. Looking very good. He's got a lot of traffic ahead of him, though. Several cars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars in his immediate surroundings. The Red Bull ahead of him has just gone off. Exits the loop corner. Goes through Aintree now. Looking very good, but using a lot of his energy store already here. Down the Wellington straight. 10th and a half quicker through Sector 1. Through Brooklands and Luffield now. He's going to have to take a wider line, perhaps. Either that or back the car down and go more conservative on exit. That's exactly what he's done through Woodcote. That may hurt his time here. He's going to be going down the National Pit Straight coming up here. In through Cops Corner. Has done a bit of a downshift, but hardly lifted through there. That's kind of more of what we expected. 1:15 remaining now. Car looking very stable for the time being. Still only a 10th and a half quicker through Sector 2. Not going to be worthy of pole, but for the time being, he will leapfrog that of John the Prince, who has made his way into the pit lane. He's done. It looks as if Cato has just gone 4th. Osmanian Devil making his way through Vale and Club coming up next. Oh, and no, he's lost it getting on the throttle. Oh, goodness me, that is so unfortunate. Somebody's throwing a banana peel exiting the corner. Osmanian Devil, with a lap that I think absolutely could have sealed him second place at least, has to settle for third, and that's not even guaranteed. As our final string of timed attempts coming to a close here, that is so unfortunate for Osmanian Devil. His teammate coming through now, that being R. Manson. 20 seconds remaining here. As the Williams of Soxy making his way down the Wellington Straight for the time being. We've got the Red Bull coming up next. I think it's going to be that of Owa. Yep, Owa's yet to put together a timed attempt. He's almost out of energy store completely here. This will be his one and only attempt. Across the line he goes 17th. Next up behind him, I believe that is the Williams of Cato, I'm going to say. Yep, Cato coming through Stowe now. 3.5 of a second quicker through Sector 2 is what that said. Be interesting to see the time as he makes his way out of Vale and through Club. This is where Osmanian Devil had lost it. Reimer's gone second in the meantime, but Cato 1:27.548 improves by half a second. Currently a Williams front row, not to mention Soxy making his way down the hangar straight now, up by a lot. Reimer's done all he can, and I'm afraid he's not going to be on a timed attempt here. As Soxy's going to be making his way through Vale and through Club here in a second. The Great Wall of Williams at their home Grand Prix here, 1:26.447. Improves at the end of it by just over 0.3, but still massive, massive lap for the Williams duo. And that looks as if, unless we're going to get some other heroic effort at the end of it, that's going to be it. We'll see our Manson at the line here. He will improve up to 6th, actually 1:27.946. Improves by 0.9 of a second, and it's a third row lockout for the Aston Martin team. First row lockout for the Williams, third row lockout for the Aston Martins. And we're just waiting for Owa to come around the line here, and that's going to do it. But a fantastic session for the Williams duo of Soxy and Cato. Reimer's done all he could there. Fairness to him, finishes within 0.2 of a second of the Williams of Cato. But I'm not sure he's going to have a good enough attempt to actually overtake either of the Williams through that first couple of corners. Yep, that'll be a interesting one to see for sure. But after the sprint qualifying session, Soxy on pole, Cato second, Reimer third, John the Prince fourth, pair of the Aston Martins fifth and sixth, Comacopa seventh, Barney eighth, Jabor ninth, Charlie Golf 10th, Trackside 11th, 12th is Curveball, 13th Shiesty, 14th Sepulveda, 15th, and 16th DWCJ and Patty Cake. It's an eighth row lockout for the pair of the Alpines. 17th is Owa, 18th Bonget, and rounding out the grid for the sprint races, 19th of Anyotse in the Red Bull. To be honest with you here, I'm not quite sure if formation lap is on or off for the sessions here. I would assume they're on, but it's not going to be a complicated affair, this, as far as strategy is concerned. 9 laps of the sprint race here to come. The only pit stops we're going to see made is if there's wing damage or punctures. That's really going to be it. Flat out here for 9 laps of the Silverstone circuit. Well, the pair of the Williams will lead the way. Off the front row of the grid here will be interesting to see. That first couple of corners, of course, Abbey is a very quick corner. It always used to be, and it still is now. Flat out through there, flat out through Farm. The real action's going to go into that braking zone at Village, that third corner. Very tight right-handed corner, immediately leads into the left-hander to the loop after that. I mean, this first sector here really determines the winners and losers of these races. If you can get away cleanly, then you're gonna have a fair shot. But we'll have to wait and see. While we have a minute, I hope we have a minute. Let's go over your drivers and constructors standings so far here through the second round of the season. Soxy on top of the table at 76. Daryl behind him at 55. Angry Walrus only 3 behind him in third. Reimer 4th. Cato 5th. Barney 6th. Curveball 7th. Bonget 8th. John the Prince 9th. And Charlie Golf rounding out the top 10. As far as the constructors are concerned, the Williams team leads by a good amount here, 110 to Mercedes 61. Only 3 points between Mercedes and Aston Martin for third. 3 points between Aston Martin and Alpine for fourth. McLaren 5th at 42. Racing Bulls 39, 3 points ahead of Ferrari. Actually, matter of fact, Ferrari and Haas tied for 7th place at 36 points. Back in 9th is the Red Bull team at 32 and Sauber at 11. And I'm getting the word from Bonget, and that formation lap is on here. Cheers, Bonget. Appreciate that. Within the next 30 seconds or so, we will be seeing that formation lap get underway. I'd most likely assume everybody's going to be on the soft tire. That would be my guess. Although, the people in the qualifying session that ran predominantly the softs may start this race on the mediums in order to try to conserve a set of the tires. And you have to realize as well that that's going to come into play for the next qualifying session as well for the Grand Prix. That whatever tire decisions that they've made to this point so far will matter quite a lot. We could be seeing a fair amount of people in the actual qualifying session run the medium tires, and we're going to be seeing a hell of a strategy difference come to the actual Grand Prix. A lot on the table here for this sprint race. Should be getting ready to go here for the formation lap rather shortly. Just waiting. See that grid. Hopefully we get ourselves a fun race here. Again, points are on the line for this. That's the main thing. Usually in real life when we have these sprint races, you won't see drivers really go gutsy in these sprint races. You really just don't see it. And the reason is because there's still a full Grand Prix to come the next day. And especially in real life, man, you can't crash in real life and expect a fantastic car the next day. In the video game world, sure you can. So we're going to see an action-packed sprint here. I can hopefully say that. And here we go, formation lap underway now. And all but 2 have chosen the soft tires. Those 2 being Reimer and Anyotse. And I think Reimer, having chosen the medium tires here, that's kind of his way of saying, look, I don't expect to be out ahead of this Williams duo here immediately. I would rather save my tires for the race in the qualifying session. That's going to be my guess. Either that, or Reimer believes that those soft tires are not going to be good enough towards the back end of the race here, and that the medium tires were the correct decision. What I do know is this: he is around a sea of people who have gone soft and will not get off the line nearly as quick as those around him. Again, the Williams duo atop the table here. Let's hope for no sort of argy-bargy between the two. That would be incredible, to say the least. But I'm afraid for a Williams team who so far leads the Constructors' Championship by about 50 points or so, that's about the last thing they need. Establish your dominance now. Establish the clear-cut favorites to be the Constructors' champions come the end of the season, or risk it now for personal glory. I'm hoping that that first option is the correct one. Reimer will have John the Prince in his immediate surroundings. The duo of Aston Martins behind him, Osmanian Devil and R. Manson, could have a good getaway here. Expect them to be challenging John the Prince here shortly. And as a matter of fact, I would expect any of these kind of duos with driver pairings lined up in the same row of the grid, you may expect them to see a little bit of teamwork as far as DRS is concerned. I would definitely expect Osmanian Devil to kind of, keep our Manson along with them here. Perhaps even that with the duo of the Alpines between DWCJ and Patty Cake. That could happen as well, although back on row 8. That's a little bit of a surprising qualifying session there from DWCJ. I expected him to be slightly higher up the grid, if I say so myself. Though talented driver for sure. He'll get up there soon enough, would be my bet. Of course, only the 9 laps here to come of the Silverstone circuit here in the sprint race. As the duo of the Williams get themselves to the grid here, Soxy will have the outside line going through this first corner, which I would say definitely better, because you can at least keep the car wide open on the outside going through Abbey. If you're Kato on the inside there, it is slightly more difficult to keep the car kind of on the right track through that section of the track there. Once they get into Village, that's when it gets risky for Saucy to be on the outside line. But nonetheless, here we go. It's time for the sprint race here. We got 3, 4, and eventually 5 lights here at the Silverstone circuit, and away they go. Soxy does get a good jump. Kato's going to be to his immediate inside, but Reimer's going to look for it. He's going to immediately try the outside of Kato here and does get him. Through Abbey, Osmanian Devil and John the Prince side by side behind as they make their way in towards Village Corner now. Lock up on the brakes for everybody behind, and hopefully there's no massive conundrums going on behind. There's a bit of the front wing missing already from the front wing of the Sauber, then of Sepulveda. We've got, who's that? That's Jabor that's gone round. And already some spinners back there, but Soxy's gotten away well. 6.5 tenths of a second ahead of Reimer. Komakopa and R. Manson's going to be side by side here, going through Brooklyn's corner behind them. Barney and R. Manson now side by side through Luffield. They're going to see drivers take it round the outside here through the corner. It's a fantastic opening lap so far. Beautiful poetry of auto racing as they make their way down the national pit straight, and it seems as if Soxy already has gotten away to one hell of a gap over Reimer. As you can see, though, Osmanian Devil, I believe it was either him or Kato, has gone well wide going through Cop's Corner already. A track limits warning, I'm sure, and you don't want to pick up too many of those. Of course, it's only the sprint race. You're not going to have any time to negate that if you do pick up a time penalty. That's about the last thing he wanted to do. But as the parade of cars make their way down the hangar straight now, let's see, does anybody try it anywhere here? I could have swore that was going to be Sepulveda trying it on Curveball. Curveball's going to be pushed wide, as well as the Mercedes at trackside as well. As it turns out, Sepulveda's actually stayed out on track here as Charlie Gulf and trackside. Side by side, trackside's going to get ahead of the McLaren for the time being, although that one was very close into the corner. Perhaps some contact being made, and at the end of the first lap, Soxy has a 2.5 second advantage over the Mercedes of Reimer, who is currently in trouble. As Osmanian Devil, can he outbrake him around the outside? That'll be a tough one. Kato trying to work his way in as well. We've got the Haas and the Ferrari side by side behind as well. Osmanian Devil to the inside of Reimer gets him by the time they head down, exiting Aintree and down the Wellington Straight here. Of course, my mother's calling me at this point in the race. That's fantastic. Apologies, Mother, I don't hang up on you on purpose, but that's not going to happen for the time being. Apologize for that. As they make their way through Cop's Corner now, 3.5 seconds. Even despite Osmanian Devil getting ahead of Reimer, and I can tell you what, Reimer is struggling through the high-speed corners, as you can see, as Kato's going to try it on the inside through Maggots. Well, I definitely thought he was going to try it there. He thought better of it. No need to play it that gutsy this early, that's for sure. As they make their way down the hangar straight now, DRS obviously being activated after the first lap. That was first introduced in the sprint races last season in 2023. That's now been introduced for every racing session that they have nowadays. It's been a fantastic addition as well, I must say. I love having that after the first lap. Bit deep into the corner was Reimer there. Cato nearly got into it. We do have trackside and our Manson battling it up behind, but Charlie Gulf has gone round, going through Vale. And I'm afraid the McLaren has fallen well down the order for the time being. As we begin the third lap here, it's Osmanian Devil 3.5, nearly 4 seconds behind Soxy, although does have the second spot for the time being. Sepulveda and Curveball side by side. And not only this, Sepulveda up 4 positions despite losing the end plate on the left front side of his front wing. It's incredible what he's able to do with the car for the time being. You'd think he'd been hampered a lot more with the loss on the front wing that he does have, but that apparently isn't the case for the Sauber in question. As they make their way through Woodcote Corner now and head down the National Pit Straight, it appears for the time being the grid has relatively stayed within its own gaps here. That was behind trackside, got well out of shape on the way into the corner. Although it's going to be a massive DRS train going down the hangar straight here as they exit Maggots and Beckett's. Reimer may have a good run on Osmanian Devil here, but I think Cato might have a better one on Reimer as they make their way down the straight now. Behind Curveball and Shiesty are going to be side by side. We'll go in with that. Curveball still to the outside here. Oh, look at this. The Ferrari of Bongit really wanted it up the outside. Couldn't make it happen. Trackside's picked up a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. It's Bongit and Curveball side by side. Matter of fact, I think Curveball has lost the end plate on the right front side of the V-carb. Yes, he has. Not good at all. Comacopa now. Still within striking distance of John the Prince here. John the Prince down a spot. Cato down 2. Still very close indeed. It looks as if Jabor and Agnote battling it out there for the 18th spot on the way in to Village Corner. To the inside, there was trackside getting it on R. Manson. Heading down the Wellington Straight now. Let's see if anybody makes a lunge in towards Brooklands. Bongit and Curveball side by side. Bongit has gotten around the V-carb in question. Through Luffield and Woodcote now as they make their way, heading towards Cops Corner. Reimer's got a good run on Osmanian Devil here as they make their way towards Cops. Not going to happen this time. And I think Reimer, again, you can slightly see, is struggling with that car through the high-speed corners. He's got less grip than the cars around him. Look at Manson trying the right side of trackside through Maggots and Beckett's. That one was risky and he's talked himself out of it. Oh, but contact from behind as Sepulveda gets into the back end of R. Manson. And now down the hangar straight they go. Single file, but expect the lunges here when possible. John the Prince, he's not going to have one at Cato this time, although Charlie Gulf and DWCJ had a temporary battle there. Charlie Gulf getting the better out of the Alpine, who still remains in that 17th spot. Matter of fact, he's actually down 2 since the beginning of the race. I kind of expected him to be able to rebound. That's not the case so far. Big stack up here as Owa and Charlie Gulf swap positions there. DWCJ trying his best. He's going to look to the inside of Owa going through Abbey. That's a risky part to try to go side by side through at speed, but they've done it and still wheel to wheel here as they make their way into Village. You can see the respect that these two drivers have with each other, leaving each other as much room as they possibly can. And the Red Bull of Owa has gotten that position, at least for the time being. I'm sure that will change again, though. Sepulveda still missing the end plate on the left front side of that Sauber. Making some good progress on R. Manson here. Remember, trackside with a 3-second penalty. He'll be falling down the order rather drastically. But Sepulveda now, is he going to have something in the cops with missing a front wing? No, I wouldn't do that, and thankfully he hasn't. If this is any indication of the full Grand Prix yet to come here, this is going to be a fantastic night of racing here in the CCRL. We've got Patty Cake. Oh, but I think, oh, that's a massive incident. 2 cars gone round. Well, Patty Cake, and I think was that Curveball as well. Something has absolutely happened with those two. 2 or 3 cars at least gone round spinning at the back, I'm afraid. John the Prince, oh, nearly gets into the back of Cato then on the way into Vale. That car really didn't seem happy during braking. Oh, and Sepulveda's gone round, and I think he's taken Manson with him. That's exactly what's happened. The two cars that were battling it out there, one of them not having any bit of front wing, I'm willing to believe that was the car responsible for the Aston Martin having gone round. And now look at this, 3 wide heading through the corner here, nearly 4 abreast. Somehow are they going to get it sorted out, and they do, but look at this. Jabor trying his best now, gets around Sepulveda. Sepulveda's going to try to strike back on the left side. Goodness me, how the hell are they doing this? It's incredible, quite frankly. Making their way through Brooklands and left field now. We'll have 3 laps to go at the stripe this time, but we're not worried about that for the time being. This racing has been absolutely fantastic so far, minus that of Soxy, who's pulled out to an absolutely undeniable advantage here between himself and the rest of the grid. 6 seconds through 6 laps of a Grand Prix. Well, if that's any sort of warning shot to the rest of the grid as we get into the race here, well, that is going to be something to look out for. Perhaps will Soxy make it 3 wins in a row. Oh, but more importantly now, we do have Reimer. Well, I say more importantly, we were losing a battle with a potential one there, but this for the 2nd spot. This is where I think Reimer might start to come into play. Those tires, the mediums compared to the rest of the grid, still on the softs, that might be better. Although, immediately as I say that, Reimer's lost time somewhere in that 3rd sector. Can't quite put my finger on where it was. 5-car battle here for the 2nd spot. Osmanian Devil all the way down to Komakopa, currently in the 6th spot. Barney on the back of it as well. Not quite as close, but still trying his best. Making their way now into Brooklands and Luffield. Still this procession of cars doing their best. Making their way through Maggots and Beckett and Chapel now. Barney may actually have a fair look at Komakopa here if he gets a good enough exit, and I don't think he has. Trackside on the back of this as well. Oh, by the way, we were talking about Trackside having the 3-second penalty. For the time being, if he's still managing the same pace that he's been doing, he may get out ahead and beat that penalty, as Bong It behind is nearly 2.5 seconds back. DWCJ and Sepulveda still battling it out here. Oh, look at this. The Red Bull of Owa really went for it on the inside, and he's gotten both of them there. Incredible. And, well, the moment I talk something positive about Trackside, I'm afraid, commentary curse real, because he's gone a spin in here. And that's about as unfortunate as it gets. Commentary curse I never wanted to believe was real, but every time it happens, well, that'll be the first thing I blame. Trackside, unfortunate for him there, but thankfully for him, he's still got another qualifying session and full race yet to come. But back with the battle here, as behind we've got, what in the hell is happening with Sepulveda? Has he left the session? Is that why we see him phasing in and out of Jabor here? What in the hell? Anyways, let's ignore that was happening. We do have DWCJ and Owa. Owa is going to try it around the right side now. On the way through, has Jabor just hit DWCJ with a bit of bump and run there? That's kind of what it looked like. That car kind of shot out wide there. DWCJ is going to be losing a couple of positions here. Back to 14th now. He has since we last spoke of him gone back up to 14th. He was in 17th, made up, you know, the couple of spots there and gotten his way. +1 on the day so far. Here goes Reimer to their left side, past Osmanian Devil, and he's done that with ease as well. And now we're starting to see those medium tires come into play. And speaking of medium tires, well, Anyote up 3 spots, but I kind of thought he'd be doing a little bit more with those mediums for the time being as Soxy begins the final lap of the session here. Got Jabor and Owa still battling behind as they went through Stowe. Jabor has gotten ahead of Owa, or has at least stayed that way, having been side by side. These 4 here battling very, very hard with each other. John the Prince now going to have 1, maybe 2 more opportunities at getting Kato for that 4th spot. He hasn't really played aggressive all day so far, as you can see. What is that? Reimer atop the grid here, trying to break the toe, heading down the Wellington Straight. Not really going to make much of a difference. He has stayed ahead of Osmanian Devil. But oh, look at this, Reimer! Big snap of oversteer. Osmanian Devil to the inside, going through Luffield now. As they get back on acceleration, Reimer's somehow been able to keep it on the outside there. That was very risky indeed, but Reimer has kept it only just and only for now. They will still have the Hangar Straight yet to go. Soxy's making his way through Maggots and Beckett's. Kato looking on, hoping for a mistake between the 2. John the Prince between the 3. And Komakopa and Barney between the 4 and 5. All hoping for an opportunity here going down the Hangar Straight. Soxy undeniably going to be winning this Grand Prix, but we'll stay along with Reimer for now, as he will have to defend. And it doesn't look as if he's going to get much of a fight from behind, although Osmanian Devil really wanted to have a look to the inside there. May still do. May it be side by side heading into Vale. Osmanian Devil's going to try to switch to the inside. Reimer does have to defend. Soxy has won the sprint race here, but the battle behind, and it looks as if after it's all said and done, Reimer will stay and finish 2nd, Osmanian Devil 3rd, Kato 4th, John the Prince 5th, Komakopa 6th, Barney 7th, Bong at 8th, Shiesty 9th, and Charlie Golf will round up the top 10. Oh, and I'm afraid his trackside had another off there. Yes, he has. Oh, but look at this! R. Manson has lost it going through Club, and will fall back to 16th. Oh, that's so unfortunate for him. But he'll get Agnote again with Agnote's penalty, I believe. Again, we still got like 30 laps of this track left to go, plus another qualifying session on top of this. You might want to stick with us here, because this is going to be one of the best races of the season. And so now the qualifying session to begin. A little bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Slightly bit of calm happening now. Let's all take a deep breath. In and out, nice and easy. And we're back. And the qualifying session about to take place. Now, if that race, again, I'll say it again, if that race was anything to go by, we're going to be in for one fantastic Grand Prix here. Looks as if Charlie Golf is going to be our first driver to bite at the potential of getting out on track first. That's exactly what's going to happen. Grand Prix qualifying session now underway. The green light on at the end of the pit lane. Curious to see if we see many drivers on the medium tire. It appears we are going to see some of that. Bongit making his way out now. Although for the time being still, Charlie Golf will be our first taker. And I think for the drivers now, this is going to get very interesting, really. Because now the drivers, when you get into a normal kind of race weekend like you know what we have been having, you know, it's very simple. You get into the qualifying session, the adrenaline's going pretty good, but you're able to steadily get it going as the session goes on. And then you get to the race, and it's at its pinnacle. And then, you know, it kind of slowly cools off again towards the end of the race, unless you're in a good battle. You know, if you're like me and you're kind of just hanging middle of the pack at best and you're not really battling with anybody, you got somebody 20 seconds up the road from you and about 10 behind where you don't really need to, you know, you need to worry about not making a mistake, but you're not really in a position where you need to worry. Now, that adrenaline has stayed, you know, kind of at about a 5 out of 10, gone up to about a 10 out of 10 for the past 9 laps of the circuit, now has to go back down to calm level, and then we'll progressively go back up again. How are these drivers going to be able to handle the change in dynamics that we've seen, you know, along with, you know, having the sprint quali, having the sprint, now having full quali, and then back to the Grand Prix? I think what we may see is now we're going to see some drivers kind of come out of the woodwork here. And we're going to see some guys that, you know, we didn't necessarily expect to be towards the top of the tables, you know, put together some good laps. And we're going to see maybe some surprises here at the top end of the grid to start the Grand Prix. You know, these drivers now have 9 laps of racing at their disposal. A big lock up there into Brooklands there for Charlie Golf. These drivers now have 9 laps of racing under their belt, full speed, and a qualifying session already. So they've now felt this car at both low fuel, I would say, kind of medium, low to medium fuel, at least race trim, and now low fuel again, and then we'll get back to the races. Who has figured out the line around the track throughout the sprint and throughout the qualifying session before that, and now, now? That's going to be a huge question to be asked. But Charlie Golf doing all right so far, making his way up through, in through Copse Corner now. Oh, sorry, this is Stowe. I get those two confused. I apologize. Charlie Golf will be our first driver to complete a timed lap here, although I think he's going to be slightly slower than previous before. 128.538, that's not really as good as it could have been there. I think he's capable of better, and I think the grid behind him is also capable of better. And I think we're going to see that from DWCJ across the line now. Well, as it turns out, not 129, 126. Tell you what, DWCJ slightly looks like he's struggling. Has to be said. Reimer 127, 632. That's more of the range we're going to be seeing. Barney's gone second behind him, 0.6 of a second back of the Mercedes currently. Bongett's gone third. And already we're seeing drivers put on these medium tires because they have to. They may have used a set of the soft tires in the sprint quali. They've used a set of the softs in the race, pretty much all but the 2 of them. Now we're going to be seeing drivers in the mediums here. This is going to be a qualifying session turned well on its head, I think. I mean, that is going to be a massive, massive question to be asked. Do have the Williams of Soxy making his way through Vale and through Club after that. And I think he's not going to have much difficulty here. Across the line he goes 126.547. A second clear of Reimer. Coming up to the line next, I think is going to be the McLaren of John the Prince. Oh, and he's gone, well, this is John the Prince who we're on with now. He's actually gone wide through Brooklands. Or has he done this on purpose to get out of the way? Is this not supposed to be a hot lap for him? I don't think it is. It doesn't appear to be, at least. We've got the V-carb of Curveball coming through the final stages of the lap now, although he is well slower, I think. Yep. Not going to be looking at a competitive lap from the V-carb this time. Although he'll be starting a new one here on his mediums. Sepulveda, which I think maybe had he not had the wing damage earlier on, he could have been a fair player in that sprint race. He's gone third, 128.156. 0.6 of a second behind Reimer. 6/100ths ahead of Barney. Patty Cake making his way up through Stowe now. I think this could be potentially... Yeah, it looks as if it's going to be his in-lap here. Yep. I will say this, it is slightly getting cloudy. Perhaps is there rain on the way? And if you're hearing that, I'm gonna throw a slight disclaimer in you. If you're hearing this, yeah, if you're hearing that, I apologize. That's gonna be staying on. That's just my fan, dude. It is. Well, I'm in the commentary. I'm in my upstairs, my attic right now, doing this commentary, and I'm sweating pretty good. I'm assuming this is what the F1 drivers feel like at Singapore and Malaysia, because of how humid it is currently. I mean, it's almost like if I breathe too much more, I'll be getting pneumonia from how much water I'm inhaling, actually. But anyways, less of that. Yeah, Sepulveda into the pit lane here. Currently fourth. Cato has actually gone second while I was babbling on about humidity. That Williams duo, man, I tell you what. I'll say this. I don't have very much... actually at all experience commentating Cato, I don't believe. If I have commentated a race from him before, it must not have been a very good one, because I don't remember too much about a previous Grand Prix he's been in. But what I can tell you is this guy's got talent. Because Soxy, let's be real about Soxy, he has been clearing away the best driver on the grid so far this season, okay? Fantastic, fantastic driver. If Cato is within like a second of Soxy, Dude, yeah, he's doing something correct. That's for sure. Matter of fact, I think anybody gets within a second of Soxy, they're doing something right. We do have coming around the line now, I believe that is actually one of the Williams drivers. It is going to be that of Soxy starting a new one here. Well, actually finishing one. 126.411 improves by about a tenth and a half there. His teammate now of Soxy just about, well, actually now over a second behind. Reimer only 2/10 behind Cato. Sepulveda 5/10 or so behind Reimer. Although a good-looking grid so far, from Cato second place down to about Bonga in ninth. That's about that second. English, apparently. Anyways, while we were away there, we did have Manson just go fourth. Good lap from him so far. 9 minutes remaining in the session. So I'm going to assume we're going to see a lot of drivers enter the pit lane probably now. Get their last, kind of loads of fuel on. Maybe if they have tires, if they're willing to part with tires, we'll see them do that. No guarantee. Though what we do see now is Charlie Golf having a halfway decent lap. That's at 0.4 of a second quicker through Sector 1. Across the line now was that of the Haas of... Now, who was that just went across the line? We had, I think, maybe... Oh, it was Osmanian Devils gone 8th. Yep. Charlie Golf now making his way through Maggots and Beckett's. Tell you what, that's one of the better takings of Chapel that we've seen so far. A lot of the time... Oh, by the way, 8.5 of a second quicker. Nearly 9/10 quicker through Sector 2. But anyways, some of these guys that we've been seeing take Maggots and Beckett's, those corners have gotten faster since last game, and now we're seeing them push way out wide through Chapel and kind of sacrificing, a lot of good momentum out of that corner. Charlie Gulp is the only driver we've not seen do that. 127.214, improves by nearly a second and a half. Gets within 0.8 of Soxy. Fantastic lap from the McLaren. That is brilliant. And again, as I was saying, he saved probably 2-3 tenths through Chapel that time. I mean, let's go on. Can we go along with Osmanian Devil here? See, there you go. Look how wide he's pushed out. Well, doesn't appear that he was on a timed lap anyways, I'll be fair with you. But still, that is about the same kind of goings through that corner as which we've seen. It's not been pretty. Got Barney going through it now. Barney's on a hot lap. Let's see what Barney does. Yeah, and again, you can see the car is scrubbing off so much speed because he's trying to, and a lot of the drivers as well, they're carrying so much speed through Maggots and Beckett's that as they're trying to make the right turn off of the back end of Beckett's, the car is just shifting to the left. Not much lateral grip at all. The car is just sliding and scrubbing off so much speed. Going through that section of the track, does John the Prince see the same? See, look at that. That car pushing to the outside there. You saw that. Visibly. We'll go along with... Owa's not going to see it. He's not in the flyer here. The other RB, it's a curveball. Didn't really see it either. Sepulveda, is he on a flyer? We're going to see it with him, I'm sure. 6.5 minutes remaining here. He's taking Copswell. That much I do know. But here's Maggots and Beckett's. Downshift on the way into Maggots. Through Beckett's now 2 downshifts. Really has to get on the brakes. And there you go again. The car... Now, usually you'd see the cars go that wide, naturally. They want to kind of cut off as much of Chapel as they can, but they're going too deep into the corner, really, to make that make sense. Patty Cake again here. I don't think this is a flyer for him, but you're going to see him push wide here. Yeah, there you go. Now, that's too much, and that's what we've been seeing a lot of these drivers do. Sepulveda's just gone 8th, 128 flat, improves by a tenth and a half. Good lap from him. Again, a lot of competition in the midfield here. That second from Cato goes all the way back down to P13. And oh, by the way, we got a couple of drivers here, really, just within pure thousandths of a second between each other. Patty Cake there has gone 10th, and as a matter of fact, Osmanian Devil behind him has gone 8th. Once again, now a fourth row lockout for the Aston Martins. Was that 8 1,000ths? Or so, yeah. English, no. More than that. I can't do math. Very, very very close between Comacope and Shiesty. I can't do math off the top of my head, I'm sorry. I'm 22 years old, I haven't had a math class in sophomore year in high school. Do the math on that if you could. And then, you know, I'll ask you again, why do you think I'm bad at math? Because I don't do it. Anyways, we got 5/100ths flat between Sepulveda and John the Prince. Very close there. We've got only a couple thousandths between Bung and Manson. That's close. We've got, you know, what is that, a tenth and a half almost between, well, not even a tenth and a half between Barney and, or between Reimer and Barney and Kato. That's not bad at all. We've got about 2/10 between Charlie Golf and Kato. I mean, yeah, very close grid here so far. 4 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. Again, it has to be said, it's getting very cloudy here at Silverstone. Perhaps does the race have some rain in it? I sure hope it doesn't, because let me tell you this again, we saw some fantastic racing in that session just now, that sprint race, and if the rain is on the way, yeah, that's going to make things slightly less enjoyable. Reimer, I think, has just completed a lap. He's gone now, that same third place, now within a second of Soxy, 9.5 tenths of a second behind. Charlie Golf on an outlap here. I'd like to see his complete lap. 3 minutes and 45 remaining in the session. We're going to see everybody come out in droves here in just a moment's time, promise you that. Coming to the line now, one of the Aston Martins, I think Osmanian Devil, is on his way in. We got the V-Carb of Curveball, who looks as if he may be starting a new one here shortly, as well as the Red Bull of Owa behind him. Yep, Curveball looks as if he's going to start one. Oh, what's happened here? The pair of the McLaren drivers, something has just happened there. John the Prince and Charlie Golf both spotted off track exiting Beckett's. That, slightly odd, has to be said. Not sure what happened there. Bit sus. Oh, God. Anyways, 3 minutes left in the session here. Charlie Golf on an outlap. Oh, maybe have the McLarens decided to kind of wait for each other here and develop somewhat of a tow. Either that. No, that's not what's happened there. I think Charlie Golf may or may not have accidentally impeded John the Prince's time to temp. That's kind of what it looks like to the naked eye. Charlie Golf starting one now, making his way through Abbey and Farm Curve coming up here. Very, very quick through the first couple of corners here into the heavy braking zone at Village. Tight right-handed corner. Got to be careful of the braking zone into the loop. The back end of the car really wants to get away from you there. On the way in, exits. Full speed as you go. Cut off as much of Aintree as you can. Down the Wellington Straight now, heading towards Brooklands and Luffield coming up here. 2 minutes and 10 seconds remain in the session. Goes a bit deep into Brooklands, does Charlie Golf. He may have lost time there. He'll have to ride close on the inside through Luffield. Not always the best way to go about that corner. Down the National Pit Straight now. He'll go through Cop's Corner here momentarily. Downshift into 7th, but still holds it pretty well. In through Maggots and Beckett's. Does he take it cleanly now? Not even a downshift through Maggots. Through Beckett's, goes down to 7th, now through 6th. Yeah, pushes a little wide there, only quicker by 4/100ths through Sector 2. That's not really going to be enough. DWCJ retires in the pit lane. 90 seconds remain here in the session. And surprisingly, only a handful of drivers out on track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think if I counted correctly. That must be 10. Anyways, across the line goes Charlie Golf. Improves only 2 1,000ths of a second. That's not going to be enough. We're going to be seeing, 9, 10 drivers here just not even make another attempt here. Only a minute remaining in the session. We'll have to wait and see, does Barney have anything to say? Well, across the timing line, Sector 2, only quicker by 3 100ths. That's not going to help him. And oh, look at that. Well, that would be why we're not seeing anybody else out on track. The rain falling here. I told you it was looking like it was going to rain. And there you go. It's absolutely raining, and raining enough to hinder anybody else's time to tempt efforts. I don't believe Barney's actually going to get a good one here because of said rain. No, he doesn't improve. He's slower by 1/4 of a second then. And hate to say it, but had that rain not started, we may have been looking at a good lap for the Haas then. We got the V-Carb of Jabor coming around the final stages of the lap now. I don't believe this is going to be an improvement from him as well, considering the rain involved. Although across the line, no, he has improved. He's gone up to 14th, his only time to tempt of the session so far. We've got the Aston Martin of Osmanian Devil. He's not on the flyer. We've got the Haas of Barney. Not on a flyer. Not on a good one, at least. Bongett doesn't appear quicker so far, unless is he going to try to see out this lap to conclusion here. Checkered flag waving now. Jabor is retired. We've got Charlie Gulf pulling into the pit lane. The Aston Martin of Osmanian Devil making his way in here. Barney still trying to gun it here through Maggots and Beckett, through Kopp's corner. Maggots and Beckett's coming up here. Certainly not going to be improving, not with the wet weather in play. Osmanian Devil retires, that being in the pit lane, I think. We do have... No, that's Osmanian Devil on track, that, I'm afraid. Barney down the hangar straight now, up through Stowe. I didn't quite get a chance to see his splits then, but I don't think it's going to be any better. Komakopa, yep, not any quicker. He's invalidated. So, unless Barney has a fantastic lap here, which he doesn't, and that's going to be the end of the session. Soxy on pole by 0.8 over Charlie Gulf. Reimer in third. Cato fourth. Barney fifth. Bongett sixth. Manson seventh. Fourth row lockout for the Aston Martins this time, 7th and 8th for Osmanian Devil. Sepulveda 9th. John the Prince 10th. 11th is Curveball. 12th is Shiesty. 13th Patty Cake. 14th Jabor. 15th DWCJ. 16th Trackside. 17th Komakopa. And then rounding out the back of the grid, 18th and 19th, the pair of the Red Bulls, Owa and Onyote. Onyote having some connection issues there, couldn't get a time in play. But Soxy on pole by 0.8 over Charlie Gulf. Although that gap between 4th of Cato goes all the way down to Komakopa in 17th. Should be a very fantastic race this coming up here. Threat of rain at all from the visual looks of it, whether or not that's the case, we'll have to wait and see. Formation lap underway at the Silverstone circuit here in Great Britain on the eve of July 4th. Well, by the time this video comes out, it'll probably almost certainly be July 4th. But anyways, not the point. Matter of fact, we're only about an hour away from that here on the East Coast, but either way. So, I'm allowed to be wrong every once in a while. I am absolutely wrong here. Only 4 cars. What the hell? Well, something's happened between Komakopa and Owa. Anyways, not the point. Only 4 cars have chosen the medium tires. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the biggest surprise I've seen all day. Charlie Gulf on the mediums, Barney medium, Patty Cake medium, Komakopa mediums, everybody else on the softs. I did not think, unless they're using scuffs, which I don't know if... Can you start on scuffs? I don't know. Either way, I mean, it certainly appears that that's what we're doing. I really thought that we were going to see people run out of soft tires to be used. That's actually not the case at all. Not a very creative grid for the entirety of it, really. Although what I will say is this. I said no rain. You never do know, do you? I mean, even behind, that camera angle at least looks like cloudy. It does look cloudy, at least from that angle as well. I think maybe it's more haze than anything else, but lap 12 to 19, soft to medium. Medium to hard, was that? Yeah, relatively the same. I mean, all-out pure battle for speed here between the entirety of the grid, and that's what it appears to be. Soxy will lead them away on the soft tires, although this time he doesn't have his teammate of Cato for help. Charlie Gulf and Reimer are going to probably, most likely, I'd say, be absolutely sending it here off the line. Trying to find any sort of challenge to this Williams driver that so far had an incredible stranglehold on the grid. We'll have to wait and see if this is going to be any different. As you can see, the couple of cars that couldn't find their way back to the grid spots correctly. Soxy again will be on the outside here. Charlie Gulf in the... Oh, look at this! Oh, this is brilliant! Can he get to the... Oh, no, he couldn't. Oh, that's unfortunate. Oh, slightly disappointing from Charlie Gulf to not be able to angle himself across like that. Look at all the people not just getting disqualified behind them. Well, here we go. Lights turning on. Happy 4th of July from British soil here in CCRL for the 3rd round of the season. And they are off. Soxy, as expected, gets away well, but Reimer gets... Oh, look at Bongett on the inside! He has absolutely cooked everyone here! He has made probably 5 spots just off the line by himself! He won't get past Reimer, but what in the hell was that? An incredible start from Bongett. Gets up to 3rd. Oh, and there's a massive collision in the back. We've got several drivers going around now, and I'm afraid, as usual, the carnage on the first lap does claim at least a couple of drivers back there. No DNFs for the time being, but I'm a little surprised. Several cars having gone around. There's probably front wing everywhere, as Osmanian Devil, so unfortunate for him. I think he was in a halfway decent starting spot. He's down 11, Manson down 5. We've got some more jumbling about going on towards the back as we make our way through Brooklands and Luffield now. But down the national pit straight they go, and already Soxy out to a 7.5 of a second advantage over Reimer. Although Reimer, for the time being, oh, look at this, he's going to have to go well wide of Kops then. I was going to say, at least for the time being, was remaining somewhat, at least in the picture on the Williams then, but it appears it's not going to end up that way as they make their way through Maggots and Beckett's and Chappell after that. Oh, who was that just gone off track ahead? I think was that the McLaren of Charlie Gulf had to take to the escape road there. It certainly is what it looked like. As they make their way through Stowe now and heading down the hill in towards Vale. It is Soxy leading the parade round as they make their way through Vale and through Club now. Despite the obvious incidents going on there in the beginning. Oh, and Jabor is completely just taking the bollard with him. Forget about traffic cones, he's taking it. We're going to have a couple of cars into the pit lane now. Patty Cake, unfortunate for him. Jabor, Osmanian Devil, so unfortunate. Down 11, but stays out on track. Apparently he doesn't have any damage. He's just going to keep going here as best he can. As the rest of the grid files through Sector 1. Oh, we got Barney and John the Prince potentially battling here. Entry they go. DRS will be activated. Both cars having it here. John the Prince, is he going to have a look to the inside of Barney going into Brooklands? It's absolutely what he's going to do on the soft tires as well compared to Barney's mediums. He's going to have to go round the outside now through Luffield. If he's able to do it, it'll be a fantastic move, but still side by side now, as well as Shiesty and DWCJ battling it out behind. 2 by 2 they go, making their way towards Kops. Oh, look at that. Uh-oh. Hey, look at that. 2 cars went side by side through Kops and got it correctly. Who would have thought that? Anyways. Don't remind Verstappen and Hamilton about that. Anyways, as they make their way through Maggots and Beckett's and the rest now. Well, that's the Haas ahead there. I think it was at either Barney or Shiesty had to go well wide. Bong, it actually gets around Reimer on the left side, up the hill going through Stowe. Although Reimer not having the DRS ahead to Soxy after 1 lap. That's kind of what we expected to happen. Oh, Sepulveda, we got a couple of cars around here. Shiesty and Sepulveda have gone around. That's so unfortunate again for the two that continue to have woes here. Down the Hamilton straight they go. Charlie Gulf within 4.5 of Reimer here. Reimer's, fallen down to that 3rd spot after making the move initially on the start, and now will be under pressure from Charlie Gulf again. Here's a look at who's on what tire. 3 drivers remain in the mediums. 2 have gone to the hards, that being Jabor and Patty Cake after having to stop after the first lap. Down the Wellington straight they go. Reimer's going to try to break the toe to the inside. Can't really do it otherwise. Oh, and speaking of Mercedes, trackside, I'm afraid, has gone around. This is exiting Village, heading into the loop, and I think what he's done, the car is just pure gotten away from him, I think. DRS activated here. Osmanian Devil's going to check down to the inside, and that one looks like it may be relatively easily, unless it isn't, in which case it won't be. Yep, it looks like Osmanian Devil's gotten that one quite well. Although, again, for trackside, those tires are going to be blistering from the heat put into them after the spin there. So that was, more or less to be expected. Although, again, woes for trackside. So unfortunate for him. .4 of a second, Charlie Gulf to the back end of Reimer here, going through Stowe. As DWCJ and Barney side by side. Oh, look at this. Still side by side now. DWCJ trying to hold the inside line as much as he can. Oh, by the way, when we said DWCJ and we were commenting on how he had a relatively poor qualifying session, currently up 8 positions on the opening couple of laps here, up to the 7th spot. Fantastic start to the Grand Prix for the Alpine. As down the Hamilton straight they go. Single file as they make their way through Abbey Farm Curve and in towards the loop. To Village and eventually the loop after that. Barney to the back end of DWCJ here. A little bit of contact, perhaps. Nothing worth complaining about there. Barney having to let off. Didn't really have the line going through the loop there. He's not going to get away as well. I think he's going to be pressuring Curveball here. Or vice versa. Curveball is going to get to the inside of Barney. Not necessarily easily, but still side by side. Still doing his best. Barney's got to float up the track. He may lose it to OY as well. Matter of fact, it looks exactly like that's what's going to happen. Owa's going to take him around the outside here. And yeah, unfortunately for Barney, had the one little bit of a slip up there and loses 2 positions through that complex of corners. Barney's gone a little bit wide, exiting Copse then. Still the drivers trying to stay within the slipstream of one another here, even through the corners. So close, as Barney's going to have to be pushed wide through Chapel. Kind of what we've been seeing all day through that corner as they try to send it through Maggots and Beckett's. Here goes Manson trying the left side ahead. I think that's curveball to the inside of DWCJ. Manson tried it on the left side of Barney, couldn't get it to go. And it looks as if for the time being, everything's going to stay calm. 0.3 of a second between Owa and curveball here. Down the Hamilton straight they go. Nothing in it. We'll go along with Charlie Gulf, who may be on the way to pressuring Reimer here for the 3rd spot. I don't know where Reimer's losing this time to Bongit, but despite Bongit not having DRS to the car ahead, Reimer has stayed behind since being overtaken a couple of laps ago going up through Stowe. 0.3 here between the top, 3 out of the top 4. All remains unchanged for the time being, but Curveball and Owa are going to be side by side going through Brooklands here. Owa is going to have the inside going through Luffield. Curveball's going to have to be pushed wide, I think. Yeah, oh no, Owa is going to just tuck in behind. Tough to take a car on the inside there going through that corner. It is quicker, you know, time-wise, distance-wise, but the speed that you'll carry going around the outside was, I think, Trackside and Sepulveda may have had a bit of a get-together there going through Woodcote. Oh, look at DWCJ. He's pushed well wide through Beckett's, as Reimer's going to get around Bongit there for the 2nd spot. Charlie Gulf's kind of in this as well, but again, Curveball and DWCJ battling behind. Look at this. DWCJ is going to get overtaken to the inside as well by Owa up through Stowe. And that all started going out of Beckett's and through Chapel for DWCJ. The car pushed wide, didn't have a good launch, and he's lost a couple of spots there. And may lose more, but more to the top of the grid now for the battle for the 2nd spot. Oh, look at this. Bongit's had to try to... Well, he wanted to go to the inside of Reimer. He was going to get cut off then by the Mercedes. He had to brake early to take evasive action. Charlie Gulf's gotten around Bongit, and the McLaren now up to 3rd. DRS will be activated for the pairing here of Charlie Gulf and Bongit. Reimer's going to have to try to break the toe. He's doing his best. Charlie Gulf now trying to look to the inside. Oh, he's going to push a little bit deep going through Brooklands. That may open the door for Bongit on the inside. Not quite going to happen this time. Bongit's going to have to get a good launch and hope for a mistake going through perhaps Copse Corner and maybe through Maggots and Beckett's. Charlie Gulf here, does he have a look at Reimer? Not now, not through Copse. But through Copse they go. Charlie Gulf, I would argue, maybe even being held up by Reimer there. That McLaren could have gotten away a lot better, but he's had to check up to allow Reimer to, you know, get away cleanly. Reimer goes deep through Chapel. That's where Charlie Gulf, I thought, had an edge over a lot of the grid, was that combination of corners. And here he goes. He's going to try it on Reimer. He's going to switch to the outside, sells him the dummy, tries to go around the outside through Stowe. Reimer's still trying to hang it in there on the inside, but Charlie Gulf does it the hard way around the outside very, very well for the McLaren, gets that 2nd spot, and the top 3 now back to where they were at the beginning of the Grand Prix, with Soxy ahead, Charlie Gulf 2nd, and Reimer 3rd. Although it appears Trackside's gone round going down the hangar straight, and he's lost his front wing as well. It's well to the inside of the circuit. I don't believe we're going to be seeing a virtual or full safety car for that. Hopefully not. Knock on wood somewhere along the line, and no, we won't. But Trackside, very unfortunate for him. His woes will continue here. So the question now is on Cato. Is Cato playing conservative, or is he genuinely struggling here and has yet to find an opportunity to improve positions on perhaps Bongit, Reimer, and Charlie Gulf? His teammate of Soxy 5 seconds ahead already as Owa and Curveball side by side going through Brooklands. Owa's going to be pushed a little bit wide here. Curveball's not going to find an opportunity on the inside. Didn't think he had enough room or speed to make that happen. But the battle for 2nd again. Bongit at the back of the queue here, maybe. Will he be able to find a route around Reimer as they exit Chapel? Charlie Gulf, though, I would expect to get away well and hold on the position for the time being. He's gone deep through Beckett's, and that will help him on exit of the corner there. Charlie Golf even still was putting time behind to Reimer. And now Bongit, well, Bongit's not going to have a look here, I don't think. Nope, 2.5 seconds behind, I'm afraid. Although Curveball will get down to the inside of Owa, going up the hill through Stowe. Good maneuver there. Those two have been battling for quite some time already. DWCJ looking on and hoping again that some mistakes are made. He's lost the position to these two drivers. Remember, he had made it up, what was it, +8 at the end of the third or fourth lap. Has now lost a couple of spots since then, but still doing his best. Oh, but he's gone wide going through Club there. Lucky not to lose it. And Barney's going to try it on the inside, going through Abbey. He'll have the outside through the farm curve, and somehow the Haas has actually done that very well. And now our Manson on the inside as well. And just as we were talking about DWCJ gaining positions, he's now lost an additional 2. If Manson can hold it steady around the outside and get a good enough launch here, and that's exactly what he's done. So Manson and Barney get around DWCJ, which forces the Alpine back to 11th. I tell you what, DWCJ struggling a lot more than is usually seen. Down the national pit straight now, Bongit within a 10th of Reimer here. Oh, but he's had to kind of check up. He wanted to go along the left-hand side of Reimer. Wasn't going to have the real estate to make it happen with the curb and the grass on the outside. And through Kopp's corner they go. Still 0.2 of a second between them. Cato watches on. Is actually closed in about 0.3 on these two here since they exited Luffield and Woodcote. And now down the hangar straight they go. Yeah, still within DRS range, but not close enough to make anything happen. Up the hill through Stowe they go. As Trackside is unfortunately retired in the pit lane. Very unfortunate for the Mercedes driver who couldn't find any luck today, I'm afraid. Looked as if in the sprint race like he was going to get around that 3-second penalty he had, and then a spin coming out of, what was it, Club? Vale in through Club, whatever it was. So unfortunate for my former commentary partner there. As we do also have a yellow flag now. I think Osmanian Devil, something's happened with him going through Maggots and Beckett's. Matter of fact, he's actually lost the end plate on the left front side. The right side of his front wing there. Down the Wellington straight they go. Reimer wanted to have a look to the inside of Charlie Golf. Couldn't get it to go. As Osmanian Devil retires, that's on track. That, in every league I have ever commentated in, is something you do not do. As Osmanian Devil decides to have the game park it for him, exiting Vale and about going into Club. Yeah, now that's something you don't do, because I have seen safety car be deployed for that sort of thing happening. It doesn't appear it's going to happen this time, but I have seen game-changing safety car be deployed by a car retiring on track. Owa's going to get to the inside of Curveball going through Maggots and Beckett's, but again, Bongit now within a 10th of Reimer. Reimer had a terrible getaway of Maggots and Beckett's in Chapel, because he's actually well behind Charlie Golf. I'm a little surprised Bongit didn't get the opportunity to get the Mercedes that time. And as we're about to start the 10th lap of the Grand Prix, we're about 5 away from our pit window. We have Komakopa and DWCJ battling it out on the way into Vale. Looks like DWCJ is going to have better traction here, getting around the outside, going through Club. Yet, good overtake from DWCJ, either that or good defense to keep the Ferrari behind. So that 14th lap is when I think we're officially at halfway. Only a couple of laps off that so far. Soxy has not pulled away in the same amount that he did in the sprint race. Only 5.5 seconds ahead now, although I'm assuming those soft tires starting to dwindle for the Williams in question. Down the Wellington straight they go. Manson was unable to get something at Barney that time. Going through Brooklands and Luffield now. Manson will not have better acceleration on the inside, but I don't think Barney's gotten away well going out of Luffield and into Woodcote. I think actually it's about even between the two still. We'll check back with them in a minute. For the time being, though, it's still Bongit, 4/10 behind Reimer. Reimer's closed in about 3/10 back to Charlie Golf since the last time round, in which he was 9/10 behind exiting Chapel. Up the hill through Stowe this time. Nothing in it then between the three drivers battling for the second spot, and somewhere along the line, Cato has struggled, and he has fallen outside of now 1.5 seconds between these three drivers here, which is very surprising to me. I thought he was well even on pace with these couple of guys, and that's not the case. It looks as if Owa is going to be our first taker, strategic-wise, of the pit lane here, unless he's hit something that I've not seen. Nope, pure strategy this time from the Red Bull. Undercut on the way. He's gone to the mediums. That's going to be a hell of a distance to try to take those medium tires, but I digress. With a yellow flag now. Is that for Sepulveda? Well, the yellow flag for some reason. Not rightly sure why. A couple of cars entering the pit lane now. 2.5 tenths for Reimer. He'll have to try to follow within the slipstream of Charlie Gulf here. Whatever Charlie Gulf is doing through that through the tail end of the second sector, through the third sector, Reimer's got to really consider copying here, because Charlie Gulf has remained unmatched since retaking second place. Bongett struggling just a little bit through that section of the track. Charlie Gulf as well on the medium tires. That's something we didn't remember there. Down the hanger straight they go. Still will be unchallenged this time by the Mercedes in question of Reimer, although Reimer does get right close, and if Charlie Gulf makes a mistake, Reimer's going to be right there. Exiting Stowe, heading into Vale. Reimer is very much within striking distance if he commits to it. Bit of a lockup for Charlie Gulf on the way into Vale. He'll be pushed wide through Club. And I tell you what, the door might be open here. Either that or, I don't even know. Reimer's right there trying his best. It looks as if Manson... We got curveball into the pit lane here. That's why we're seeing positions change. Very odd pit lane here at Silverstone. It kind of tails off exiting, going through Vale, and then kind of cuts Vale and Club. Oh, and Charlie Gulf has gone around completely on his own error. Has spun the car around exiting loop corner then. So unfortunate. Down to 6th. He's done that all on his own as well. Gotten too trigger happy on the throttle, I'm afraid. As now Sean the Prince down to the inside of Cato, going through Brooklands in Luffield. Oh, and I was telling you before about how that corner got difficult, how the car will want to get away from you, and I'm wondering, was it under braking? Did he get a bit of a tank slapper heading onto the brakes there, or maybe has he just really gone too pure on the throttle and that's why it's happened? Either way, back to 6th for Charlie Gulf, who I thought was clearing away the favorite. Between the three of them battling for the second spot. That's now been given to Reimer, with Bongett only about 3 tenths behind. DRS activated here. Reimer will not have DRS, of course, naturally back to Soxy, who's 6 seconds ahead. A 10.5 here between the two, battling for second. And oh, look at this. They're both going to go for the pit lane here. So Reimer, Soxy, and Bongett now all on their way in. I would expect Cato to follow suit. Cato will follow suit, but Bongett, 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. Bongett's been hit with a 10er, and that may very well end his chances at winning here. John the Prince has stayed out on track. Will go another lap. Mediums for Reimer. Soxy, I think, to the mediums as well, most likely. That's what I would expect. Charlie Gulf still in the mediums. The two McLarens at the top of the grid now. Barney has stayed out as well. Soxy to the mediums, Reimer to the mediums, Bongett to the mediums. Cato has actually come out okay there. I thought the double stack may have hurt him. No, mediums as well has done good. TWCJ to the mediums. That's a front wing change going on for Copa. I don't remember what's actually happened to cause that damage. But either way. So the top 3 now belongs to John the Prince, Charlie Gulf, and Barney, who have yet to stop. Charlie Gulf and Barney, I don't expect to pit for a couple of laps still. John the Prince will almost certainly be in at the end of this lap. Would at least be my guess. Copa goes to a fresh set of softs after his stop. Bongett will actually get down the inside of Reimer there, going through Brooklands. Have a look at the penalties here. Yep, still just Bongett 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane, which, if you remember looking on the way into the pit lane, Bongett was behind Reimer. Bongett had actually... What was interesting about that is Bongett had allowed Reimer well enough room on the way into the pit lane to be actually able to slow down. And then, for Bongett to not run into the back of him, there was about a good 100 meters between the two, really. 50 meters at least, I'd say, for Bongett to not actually collide with the back end of Reimer. I don't know how he's messed that one up, really. Has he, allowed Reimer the space and then tried to get it back and slow himself down again quickly after that? I don't know. That's a bit of an odd one there. It's not like he's been hit into the pit lane unless that's what's happened, which I don't think it was. Soxy was not close enough to the back end of Bongit to really make that happen, and I think Soxy would have gotten penalized for the collision anyways if that was to happen. We have had John the Prince just stop. He's gone to the medium tires. Only 2 left to do so. Charlie Golf and Barney, the only remaining 2 on the medium tires. We are past halfway through this Grand Prix, and so far it has been a fantastic one here at Silverstone. And still, coming up on 10 laps to go here shortly. Curveball is going to get down to the inside of Owa relatively with ease on the way into Brooklands. Very nicely done for the racing bull in question. But Owa's still right there trying his best to strike back. And I'm afraid there's not really going to be much contest from Owa this time, unless perhaps do either of them make a mistake here going through Cops, maybe through Maggots and Beckett's. No, it doesn't appear that's going to be the case. Yeah, no, not this time. Not quite. Although, perhaps I've spoken too soon. Yeah, no. Well, Curveball has not gotten away as well as Owa then, but I don't think Owa is going to be close enough to make a move happen. Unless he does. So Barney has stayed out on track an additional lap here. Charlie Golf has made his way in. It's going to be to the hards for Charlie Golf. Being that he started on the mediums, that was kind of expected, but still a little odd. I think maybe he could have taken the softs 10 laps. Maybe could he have gone an additional 2 on the mediums and then went for the softs for the final stint? That would have been my guess, but not the case. As we have a yellow flag. The Red Bull of Agnote has had a bit of a spin going through Maggots and Beckett's. He's not hit anything, of course. And he's back underway, and the track back to green conditions. John the Prince had a bit of a temporary look to the inside of Cato there. He's actually going to push quite deep into the corner. Not quite there, not for the time being. Barney, still the last driver on the grid, has yet to make his mandatory stop. We have a yellow flag coming out of club. I think it's that the Alpine of Patty Cake had something happened there, not quite sure. Either way, he's kept it going. 2.5 tenths here as they make their way through Cop's corner. Led by Cato, the Williams driver. Going through Maggots and Beckett's now. I will say this. It kind of looked as if we did have rain in the qualifying session. That usually tells me that rain could be potential in the race, but it doesn't appear it's going to be that way. It looks like it's going to stay dry. John the Prince now, does he have anything? He's going to try the inside, going up through Stowe. Easy enough for the McLaren in question. Owa is going to get the inside of Curveball here. Barney finally chooses to pit, and that will allow Soxy to retake the lead of the Grand Prix. He won't get a Grand Slam, unfortunately. But by God, he's deserved all the credit he will earn. And I believe Barney, has he gone to the hards? What has he done here? No, he's gone to the softs. Okay, see, that's kind of what I expected John the Prince and Charlie... that's kind of what I expected Charlie Golf to do. But that's not the case. Although maybe, maybe was the call that Charlie Golf was... we saw him have the spin a couple of laps before he came in. Maybe if he thought, hey, I'm struggling this much on the medium tire, what will it be like on the soft tire on 10 laps? That could have been the case. Either way, 1/10 of a second between Curveball and Owa is going to disperse of the Red Bull driver fairly with ease here. Cato, well, that's a big snap of oversteer trying to get around Luffield. He's held on to it, but still not really ideal. And I'm a little surprised Cato hasn't played much of a factor in this Grand Prix. We saw him in the sprint race have a lot of pace. Of course, the 2 Williams drivers qualified front row in the sprint race. I'm a little concerned as to why Cato's not found similar pace here through the race and through the qualifying session even before that. Either way, a top 5 still a good day. Well, to the line this time, 10 laps to go for the Williams of Soxy still. Some good battles happening here. We started with 19. We're down to 17 after... as Charlie Golf's picked up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. Started with 19, down to 17. As Trackside retired to the pit lane, Osmanian Devil retired on track. Which I'm not sure of the rules, but in every other league I've ever commentated on, that's something you don't do, and I'm almost certain he'll be facing a penalty for that. 0.2 of a second between Owa and Curveball. Still a good battle here. I tell you what, these two have been on each other. Oh, pause. First of all, pause. These two have been on top of each other all day long, trying to find the best position suited for them, and now I'm going to make this weird. Here comes Owa. Damn it. Owa's going to try it round the outside. How do I get this back to PG, man? I'm having too much fun. Owa's still trying his best here, 2.5 tenths of a second. Tenth and a half now. I tell you what, Owa doing his best. He's really... Oh, bong, it's picked up 3 seconds for multiple warnings ahead. I believe that puts him at 13 seconds of penalty. Again, he picked up a tenner for speeding into the pit lane, which we're still not really sure how that's happened. That must have been a huge, just pure error from the Ferrari, unless as he had help from behind in some way. I didn't think he did. I didn't think there was anybody near him to do that. Owa's going to get to the inside of curveball here. Yeah, that one looked relatively easy for the Red Bull. Of course, these two, this has been a fantastic battle between these guys all day long so far. Throughout the entirety of the race that we've had, these two have been battling. Oh, and Owa's going to go actually wide going through club. That may allow curveball to strike back here very quickly. He may not need to wait for DRS. He may do it right now. That was a weird trip down the straight. Do you see that bump visibly that Owa just took? That was odd. Meanwhile, we've got Manson. Oh, Manson had to go way deep into the corner there versus DWCJ. Nearly contact being made. Kato not really close enough for the time being. Getting back to John the Prince. Still 6 tenths of a second between the two. Oh, look at this. Curveball to the inside of Owa going through Brooklands. And that one very well done. Although still not really sorted between the two here. Curveball still... Sorry, Owa still trying it on the inside here. I think get a slightly better getaway of Luffield and Woodcote. Still even between the two. I mean, nothing separating these two. Always fantastic to see a battle like this, where you got two drivers so even on pace. The only thing separating them is DRS. Going through Chapel now. Oh, I think has Curveball done it slightly better. It's not going to matter. Owa's got DRS. He'll actually try the inside there. I thought he was going to go try around the outside through Stowe. It's not what he's done. But Owa's going to get that spot back going up through Stowe. Back to 6th for him. Manson and DWCJ behind. DW is still a little bit slippy there coming out of Stowe. 3 tenths of a second, 4.5 tenths of a second here for Manson trying his best. Manson down 4. DWCJ up 5. Big story though, Owa up 12. Been a fantastic effort from him so far. And still it's not over yet. Still 3 tenths of a second between Curveball and Owa as they exit the loop through Aintree and now down the Wellington Straight. Curveball's going to have this one on the inside. Again, relatively easily. I'm going to turn on the telemetry just really quick. Yeah, I mean, look at this. Owa, much more battery. Now that's a thing we didn't see. Owa has not used his overtake button hardly at all. Curveball has used all but 8%. That's alarming. That tells me that Owa slightly more at ease. Whereas Curveball, I think, you know, maybe would the idea have rather have been for him to use it to defend rather than try to overtake. He would have had 2 attempts at DRS going down the Wellington and Hangar Straight after that. I'm a little surprised as to why he's dispersed it all in one go. But down the Hangar Straight they go. Owa not even using his overtake button. Surprisingly, though, that time they're not going to trade positions. Oh, by the way, shout out to Charlie Gulf and Barney. They've actually joined the fray. And suddenly now it's a 4-car battle for the 6th spot. Oh, a bit of a slide there coming out of the corner for Curveball, getting on acceleration. That may open the door, at least a hair, for the drivers behind as they file their way through. As Onyote, a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. I think Sepulveda has had some sort of error going through Vale and Club. Owa's going to try it round the outside through the loop then. Very, very close going through Aintree now. We've got the McLaren of Charlie Gulf and Barney. Oh, and they collide, and they go round behind him, and I think... Oh, I hate to see that. You really do, because that was looking to be a great battle. But just too much... Not enough room between the two of them coming out of Aintree, and they've both gone round, and I think Barney may have gotten the worst of it. He's missing a bit of his front wing, and now... Well, Barney's not going to be happy with that. Ruin both of them. An opportunity to battle for that 6th position, which still... As, oh, by the way, Curveball has 3 seconds of time penalty. We didn't initially notice that. Well, look how wide Barney's going to push off the corner there. Barney is missing the end plate on the left front side as well. Yikes, that is just not how you want to see a battle like that of that caliber end. I'm afraid we could have had a 4-car battle for that 6th spot. Unfortunately, that's not how it ends up. Meanwhile, Kato... Well, this is interesting here. Kato has actually saved up all of his energy store here. John the Prince is down to about 10%. Not the case for Kato. He is looking quite good here. I think John the Prince, he might be on the ropes here if Kato can strike with quickness here. That wasn't exactly correct English, but you know what I mean. So next time by, lap 22, will be 5 laps to go here at the British Grand Prix. It's been a fantastic day for Soxy so far. Bong it with 13 seconds of penalty. He's actually put 5 back to Reimer. Three-tenths of a second for Curveball, still trying to find his way to the Red Bull of Owa. DWCJ 4/10 behind Manson, going through Brooklands and Luffield and Woodcote now. A little bit of a slide there, getting on the throttle for DWCJ, perhaps with the medium tires starting to fall out of good standing amongst the drivers, because that was a bit slippy there. 2/10 of a second between Curveball and Owa through Maggots and Beckett's, and eventually Chapel after this. DRS will be activated for Curveball here, going down the hanger straight. He'll absolutely have enough pace to make it happen, and he's using his battery. Oh, he's flown past the Red Bull then, but I'm afraid unless Owa picks up another penalty, that is going to belong to the Red Bull. DWCJ has gone around the outside of our Manson, then Komakopa, and Charlie will actually get around Shiesty then. Shiesty was in a DRS hole then, and has lost 2 positions in the process. 5 laps to go here. Kato still within 5/10 of John the Prince. John the Prince almost within DRS range on Reimer, let's not forget, for that 3rd spot. But still not close enough yet. Manson within 1/10.5 of DWCJ is going to try to outbreak him in through Village. Not going to happen this time. Making their way out of the loop. I tell you what, DWCJ handling that first sector, I think visibly better than that of our Manson. It's been very close between them, but at least that's through Sector 2 and 3. Through Sector 1, DWCJ has a clear advantage for the time being, it seems. Although maybe that Alpine is just better in the slow-speed corner, because that's kind of what it looks like. Going through Brooklands and Luffield then, DWCJ's pulled off, I think, another 3/10 of a second on the Aston Martin here, but through this high-speed corner, now I think Manson's going to start to get it back, and does. 7/10 of a second going into Cops, exiting it, it's 5.5/10, and now through Maggots and Beckett's they go. Maybe will the gap get bigger again, and yes, it does. So DWCJ quicker in the slow-speed corners. Charlie Gulf now, within a couple of tenths of Komakope here. Shiesty trying to work his way inwards as well, but we'll go back up to this battle for the 3rd spot as John the Prince within 1/10.5 of Reimer here. Suddenly this has gotten very close. Remember, it was outside of a second just a lap ago. Not the case anymore. Kato, can he enter the mix for this battle? Will it be his turn to get onto the podium? For the time being, though, I don't want to say anything negative about Kato. He's a quick driver in his own right. We saw that. But has yet to play an impact in these battles so far. He's really just kind of flown under the radar, and perhaps is that by design. Could be. John the Prince to the inside of Reimer. He's going to get that spot, only perhaps temporarily, because I think John the Prince really even on pace with Reimer here, and once Reimer has DRS, and Reimer's also saved up about 50% battery, not the case for John the Prince, who is now going to try to have to use that battery in defense. We'll have 3 laps to go at the line this time. Kato's going to go deep through Cops. Actually holds some halfway decent speed going through the corner. As they battle now, Kato's still bringing up the tail end of this battle for the 3rd spot here as John the Prince leads them out of Chapel. I think he's done that quite well. Reimer 4/10 of a second behind. He'll have DRS. John the Prince is going to defend the inside line this time. Reimer's going to have to go the long way around through Stowe. Not going to happen. Cato's actually moved within 3/10 on this battle here, but again, I think maybe is that Williams just better suited in the straight line. Sepulveda, 3 seconds of penalty. Owa on curveball now. Owa's gotten down to the inside of curveball, and on the way into Vale, yep, Owa's done that nicely. 3 laps to go. Cato 3/10 of a second back to the Mercedes of Reimer. My question is, will Reimer have enough? As Soxy, well, he's got 3 seconds of penalty. That's not going to mean much at the end of the day, really. But will Reimer have enough in the straight line speed? Again, Reimer is typically a driver who does like to put extra downforce on his car. Well, here he goes. DRS activated. He's not really using his energy store either. I think he's going to look to genuinely overtake the McLaren before, you know, he kind of has to do it with the aid of DRS and his energy store. That's what it looks like, at least for the time being. Cato still holding steady. That's about, what is that, 90% battery. Cato, I think, really going to save this up for the end of the race, but he's got to start thinking about attacking here. He's not got enough time, I don't think, to really make an impact here. He's got to attack this time by down the hangar straight. If he doesn't, I mean, he could still get whoever's in 4th, but I don't think anything after that is going to be in reach. Well, here they go now down the hangar straight. Does Reimer have anything to the back end of John the Prince? They're going to go up the hill through Stowe. No, not this time. John the Prince, I think, using any last bit of energy store that he has defensive-minded. As Shiesty, a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Cato in on this battle as well. 2 laps to go. John the Prince has gotten away much better out of Vale and Club that time. I think, what was that? Has Manson gotten around DWCJ? Yes, he has. But still the battle for the 3rd spot. John the Prince leads well going in through Village and the loop after that. Reimer trying his best, but still has yet to be able to strike back against John the Prince, maybe. Well, he's got plenty of DRS, and oh, just like that, Cato a 3-second penalty, and that has perhaps eliminated any hope of him finishing on the podium, unless, do these drivers make a mistake, or is there penalties to be applied for them, whether on track via track limits or, you know, in the steward's room? I don't think there'd be anything on that front, so Cato's got to hope for rather a miracle here, with about a lap and a half left to go of the Silverstone circuit. Through Maggots and Beckett's they go. I'm expecting Reimer to close in a little bit here. Again, he's taking too much of the curb on the inside of Beckett's, I think. May not get away out of Chapel as well. Actually, he's right close. Down the hangar straight he goes. DRS activated. Tries around the outside. And I think if this is where Reimer's going to make the move, yes, he does. He's used his battery there, and now, still with 70%, can think about using it in a defensive perspective. John the Prince had a slight peek to the inside there. Nothing of it. Final lap of the Grand Prix now underway. DWCJ and Manson still battling here. Oh, Manson's going to have to try it around the outside. Manson's still missing the end plate on the left front of his front wing there. He's going to try to the inside of Vale. DWCJ is going to have to brake late and still somehow does stay ahead of the Aston Martin. Oh, but he slid it there. Well, I tell you what, if he does stay ahead of the 2 drivers here, he does. Wow, I don't know how DWCJ's held on to the car. Charlie Gulf's actually going to look to make up spots here and does just that. Nicely done for Charlie Gulf. Manson, I think, making a mistake there somewhere along the line. I don't even know. So much happening. Down the down the Wellington straight they went. It remained unchanged between Reimer and John the Prince. Going through Cops this time here for the final time. John the Prince within 0.2 of a second. Charlie Gulf and DWCJ side by side going through Brooklands and Luffield now. I'm assuming the McLaren's going to have better pace on the outside. We'll check with that in a minute. Well, still side by side. We'll go up and see Soxy making his way through Vale for the final time. We don't have to see this. He will go and win the British Grand Prix. But now the battle. Does John the Prince have a last-ditch effort round the outside? Going through Stowe. I apologize for being mean to Soxy there, but come on now. We got some great battling going on here. Does John the Prince send it into Vale? No, I don't think he's going to be close enough to make it happen. No, not this time. But Curveball and Owa. Oh, who's that off track? I don't know. But Curveball and Owa still side by side. And it looks as if Owa will finish ahead. Bong it with his penalty drops to 5th. Reimer finishes 2nd. John the Prince 3rd. Cato 4th. Bong it, I think, will get 5th. And as they make their way now, Komakopa's gone up the inside of Manson there, going through Vale. What's happened with DWCJ? Oh, he's on low fuel. DWCJ gets 10th after penalties applied, but with low fuel for the Alpine. Oh, that's unfortunate there. Does still finish in the top 10, but what a fantastic race that was. Soxy, your winner here. What a race. Just waiting for Sepulveda and the final couple of drivers to cross the line here. Well, I won't see you next week. I'll see you back in Saudi Arabia for round number, 4, 5? I don't even know. What a fantastic race it was. Soxy, your winner today. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.